Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to take another look at ShipRocked, the interview of The Warning that happened back in September, actually late August of 2023, several months in advance of their actual ShipRocked, well, it's not a tour, but appearance. Anyway, they were out on a boat for about a week or so, played 2 shows, did an encore. Apparently, I didn't realize this, but the boat had a few problems, like it crashed into the pier on returning. There was a hurricane that I think they had to outrun. I'm not sure if they actually got caught in it or went around it. So it sounds interesting enough that I think we're going to have to take a look at some clips from that experience over on the other channel at some point in the near future, relatively near future. We did take a look at the Highway to Hell that came out of that was part of the big encore with all of the people that had played on the boat. And I want to say Michael Starr was the guy that was doing the actual singing on that. Anyway, I'm about 14 minutes into this. People overwhelmingly said, yes, keep going on this. It is a lengthy interview. And again, I want to stay out of trouble, although I have a feeling this particular organization isn't going to mind a reaction because, after all, it does promote their own brand. It's Ask for Entertainment, which owns ShipRocked. And the interview is actually being done by, I think, a couple of guys associated directly with ShipRocked. So, with that in mind, why don't we pick up where we left off? If you're not already subscribed to the channel, just know I'm always looking at non-music content that features bands that are touring today. Sometimes I do interviews too. If that interests you, please subscribe so you won't miss anything. Let us dive in. Here we go.
Honestly, it is very helpful.
It's awesome.
That we speak Spanish.
But sometimes there are people who speak Spanish. So, it's like, oh my God, hi.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just catch everybody up. They were talking about the writing process, writing with people outside the group itself. This is where I left off last time. And they said sometimes they would sidebar, in Spanish. And once in a while, they come to find out that the other people understand Spanish. And they're like, oh, whoops. So that's where we are here. Okay.
Let me just tell you though, if I was in the room writing with y'all and I didn't speak Spanish and y'all were speaking Spanish, I would know without question. The first thing I would say is they're talking. Chat. I would be like, they're totally talking about me.
Oh yeah.
They totally hate. They totally hate this idea. I love that y'all do that though. You got to take advantage of that stuff. That's so great.
That's a skit. That's like a TikTok skit. You guys.
It's totally a skit.
Yeah,
line it up, make it happen. It's fantastic. It's a great idea.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know if this is a touchy subject or if you don't want to talk about it. So I think you should because it's something I literally just found out today. But so Ellen DeGeneres went hard on supporting you guys, and then essentially I knew about her support, but I didn't know that you were followed. You ended up going to college at Berkeley, and then they followed you around filming your lives.
Ellen Tube.
Yeah. Just speaking of social media, in that space, how did that feel? How did going to school, a music school, obviously having these cameras following you around, shooting things, how did that work with
like a reality show?
Contingencies of being siblings, working in a creative space and
kind of young,
learning together.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to first I want to clarify. I know that first I forgot that happened.
Yeah,
yes. It's not present in my memory at all. But now that you mention it, people imagine a whole film crew following us with cameras. We had a little handy cam that parents they sent us. Yeah, it was our parents recording and interviewing us.
Yeah.
So it was pretty.
I know. We did have there was this one day, a couple of days where this person
they did bring the whole thing,
follow us around.
Yeah.
But we were there for 5 weeks, and that happened 2 days.
Okay.
So it was pretty chill.
But I feel like it was a nice little
intro into what
our jobs would turn out to be in the future.
That's hilarious. And yeah, yes, a little taste of fame early on. Oh my. And of course, Ale is still 9. No, she's 10. She's 10 years old when they're at Berkeley. Excuse me. Can you? Yeah, it seemed like they were using one of those hand cams, kind of like Petunia they use today. For a lot of their after movies, they're shooting stuff themselves using Petunia. And you can tell it's Petunia because there's a burned out yellow pixel kind of in the middle of the shot. So if you ever see that, you know that's Petunia, and when it's one of them doing it. But yeah, that makes a lot more sense for what I remember from that feature.
Years, because social media is a huge part of our
everything.
careers. That's how our careers started, and that's how it kept blossoming.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, like, our parents were doing it with us. We were very protected. It was a good way to start, like, exploring how to, like, show our personalities and our work, and having people know you as people. But you're also doing this process when you're a teenager, and you're just like, you don't even know who you are, but now you have to be somebody. So it's a weird process, but I feel that a big comfort was that the three of us were doing it together.
Yeah.
So like, if I was alone, that would have been really, like, stressful, isolating. Like, I wouldn't have it together.
And still, you're totally right. Like, this happened 2015, and that for me feels so far away.
I mean,
it's like, it is. That's insane.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't like that number. Yeah.
Think about this. This is also, well, it was a trial run for social media. All the social media they do now, perhaps it even helps them get really comfortable with the whole idea. Now, I know that they didn't really start doing direct vlogs to the fans for a couple more years after that, and they were still a little nervous at that point. But still, I mean, we're talking about Danny being 15 and Pau being 13, Ale being 10, and they're basically on their own with this hand camera that's going to eventually be part of this feature that's going to go nationwide. And can you just imagine? It must have been breaking open all kinds of doors for them, especially at a time, yes, where they don't really know who they are. And consider that was still the case throughout the 2010s, you know, especially for someone, say, like Ale, who would have been just turning 15 at the end of 2019, okay? So, yeah, not really knowing who you are yet exactly, but still sharing a lot. And we're glad they did. You know, I don't think they have much to be concerned about things that are out there, although I do notice that lately, if you look at their Instagram pages, at least, there's a lot of stuff wiped. And so that's kind of a new development. Maybe they thought, well, enough's out there. But there's still plenty of YouTube, plenty of other things. I think the Twitch stuff is still out there. Yeah, it was the start of all of that. Because I think it was Louise putting up the videos on YouTube. It wasn't them back when they were kids and they finally blew up.
I think it's interesting because, you know, we were just talking, the reason why I brought it up specifically right now is thinking about the writing process as Al was highlighting there, and bringing in people that are not inside of your core. It can be uncomfortable, right? Just like the cameras would be. But as you go into the next record cycle, or you go into the next situation where you are being filmed in any way,
excuse me.
Those are tools in your tool belt that, like, most people don't even have the opportunity to flex, you know, at all in their lifetime, let alone utilize for their, you know, for the betterment of what they are doing ultimately with their career. So I think it's cool, and I think at the space that you guys are at, and that's like information that I could have used back in the day.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, how to deal with situations like that. You know, having a language a different language to speak with my friends would have been so valuable outside of the blowouts that I can remember. So I just wanted to touch on it in that moment.
I had one.
Hey, let him talk
yesterday.
now. Come on.
I took my daughter to her guitar lesson, and I overheard one of the students talking to one of the parents. And it was really interesting. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. They said, and this kind of relates to what Chad's saying here, is she said, well, you know, the mom said, yeah, she doesn't really want to play in front of people because she's really self-conscious, and it's just really, it makes her really nervous. And the teacher said, well, that's okay. She doesn't have to play in front of people. That's just, you know, that's just not her thing. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. But at the same time, like,
I don't agree.
Going out there with nervous hands and just scared to death, and is like, I would encourage.
Here's my guitar recital.
My kids or my students to do it once and at least know where you stand, like as far as how you're going to handle it.
Of course.
And then the thing is, you do it 3-4 times, and all of a sudden you get better at it. You get more comfortable. You get more relaxed. I think there's like a real thing. And I experience this because I'm a half a musician, but I don't play out enough. I don't play out a lot. It's like I play in.
Okay, I get accused of talking too much sometimes in our reactions, maybe sometimes in these videos. These guys are on another level. Like, there's all these things that they could have had the warning speak up on and just no. And I'm like, why are they even there? Come on, guys. Open up the floor a little bit. But I do like that they're empathizing with the experience. And he's right. I think that, that's Al, by the way. I think he's right that if you're going to learn an instrument, I mean, part of that is a social thing. Music is something that everybody can enjoy. And it also helps anybody, just in general, to be able to put themselves out there a little bit. And especially in a situation where you've got a guitar and you're going to play for your friends or for people you don't know, maybe a recital, something like that. I think that is so valuable to everyone. It gives you a certain comfort level. You can talk to people. You can express your feelings on various matters or opinions or what have you. It's just a really good, healthy thing. And yes, I know, introverts notwithstanding, I understand. Do you know how many major artists are introverts, by the way? So, including these girls. Okay. All right. Hopefully we will hear from the warning themselves shortly.
And like, you don't play as well unless you play multiple gigs in a row. And I want to get into that with y'all. It's like multiple, it's like going out and playing a one-off is way harder from a musician standpoint than going out and playing 12 shows over 15 days, right? It's like you're standing up with your instrument, you're not sitting down, your muscle memory is all trained. It's like, I feel like that's a super important thing to go out and play and learn, like Chad said, what's in your toolbox and what you have to offer. Then you bring those things back into the writing room and you have all these other things. It becomes the roundness of your artistry, right? So how do you guys feel like, okay, we got one gig. Well, that sucks, especially early on, right? Where there was 1 gig a month, probably, or less, or like the one gig you were working for.
Let
and
them
now
tell
it's like
you
just said,
let them tell you.
Gigs in, or no, you had 8 gigs over 11 days, you said, I think. Something like that. But right, that changes as a musician, right? It's like the comfort level and those muscles get trained properly. How does that work for y'all?
Hey, so it's been a process.
Yeah.
But everything that you said definitely
sense.
hits its mark, because I feel we started properly touring last year, and our first tour was a 6-week tour. We did 20 something shows.
United States.
6 weeks, and our first proper tour was in the US. It wasn't even in our home country, so it was definitely very jarring, and it was like taking a deep dive into cold water. It was like, what is going on? And the first time that you do it, it's really tiring. You don't know how to handle all the emotional aspects. You're really tired, but you don't have time to be tired. You don't have personal space. All of that also really translates into how you play. On stage. Mm-hmm. And getting used to being that tired and giving your best performance, it really helps you grow as a musician. It's like getting how do you say it? Steroids. You just grow so much by having those experiences. And also playing to different people every day. It's having a new opportunity to kind of prove yourself.
Yeah.
So it's also
and also that's where we're super grateful of every single rehearsal that we've had throughout our whole lives, because you're that tired that the freaking automatic switch turns on, and you just live shows, how do I even know how to do this?
It doesn't matter how much you practice, you cannot replicate what the live show to practicing. So one live show equals 20
rehearsals.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just
you need to practice so the adrenaline,
and that's something you cannot you can't just
do.
Yeah.
So, and also communicating on stage is something that you can only develop while you're on stage. And it's a really important part about being a band. And definitely, it's gonna sound really stupid, but learning how to have fun every day on stage when you're that tired, when sometimes, we're all human, we all have bad days, and just centering yourself and grounding yourself in your job, and just learning how to appreciate even though you're not in the best spot. But I feel we're a totally different band than we were last year, and we grew so much.
touching on a tiny little part of what you said about the student, in our case, I am so glad, because as a very shy person myself when we all started, I'm so happy that we got to do this together. You know, it was like, I'm gonna step on stage completely by myself and do this. Like, I feel like if we get to like show people that you're not in it alone, like there's a lot of people who like music who can take that step with you, and also to like know that mistakes happen, and that is part of the live thing, you know. Everyone will not boo you. They would just be like, oh my god, like
this
it's
year,
part of the experience,
last year we played around 110, 15 shows, and this year we played, I don't know how many, but we played a lot of shows this year. And even though we're playing like almost every day, you still make mistakes, and it's learning.
Never do.
You never do. I would never mess up like that in a rehearsal studio, like ever.
It just happens sometimes.
But sometimes you mess up, and learning how to like, first of all, like take those mistakes and kind of like laugh it off, be chill, and learning how to like pick yourself up after that, like continuing the song after you mess up, like all of those things are things that you just gain with experience, and you have to do that by like letting go a little bit of like ego. Wise, like you can't take yourself like too seriously. Like I need to be perfect all the time, because then you wouldn't grow.
That's unrealistic.
That's when you mess up.
And that's only things that you learn
by doing it
and communicating. Also, if people like, if my sisters come to me and say like, "Hey, you're playing pretty badly right now. You need to." And like you can be pissed off. It's okay. Like I'm not like, "Whoa, yeah, I love it when people tell me I'm making mistakes," but have to take it and listen to it and try to see how you can like be better and like start figuring things out.
Or maybe like finding the root of why it's happening.
I mean that's a very mature thing to even think about. I mean,
no, she's right. I wanted to wait until they were done. They just matched the other two guys. Maybe went a little over. That's awesome. I have some thoughts. Yes. We point out when we hear a mistake from the warning because it's kind of a rarity. I mean, they do make them, but they tend to be very minor. They don't happen that much. The crowd never really worries about it because they know what the intent was. And even a show like Pier 17 that I just looked at that one. I put that edit up over on the other channel, which by the way has hit 100,000. Thank you so much for those of you that have watched it. And I learned so much doing that, and I actually watch it back now every so often because it's such a great show anyway, but I also want to see if there was anything I could have done to do it better, you know. And I'm hearing there are a number of little mistakes in that amazing show. And, you know, you wouldn't have it any other way because it's a live experience. You know, it was kind of hot out that day. It was very muggy. So everybody was dealing with that, including the crowd. There was also the threat of rain, so nobody really knew if it was going to start pouring. It was, but you know, I heard mistakes from all three of them in that show over the course of the show. They were all minor. You could kind of see where they knew it was happening, and like, oh, the camera caught it. Oh well, you know. Allie gave a little smile to Pau at one point when she did it. That is the way to handle it. They're going to happen. They're not that serious, you know, especially if you're so incredible as a band anyway. You know, it's like, oh, look at that. You know, it's almost like a unicorn sighting. I mean, not quite to that level, but as far as some of the other things they mentioned, being on tour for 6 weeks in the United States in 2022, we watched, and I love bringing this show up. Maybe you've heard me talk about it before. The Reverb in Reading, Pennsylvania on May 7th. This is about the 3-week mark in the tour. And at this point, they were tired. There was some exasperation. You could feel it in the set. I think we saw some of the sound check too. And it was there, but you know, sound check, you kind of expect to see things like that anyway. But it actually showed itself a little bit during the show. There was even a point where Danny did a little version, just acoustic, well, not acoustic, but just her solo of When I'm Alone, which is usually an indicator, that there's some frustrations or something's going on. And yet the show was amazing. It was really incredible. Not a big place either, by the way. Anybody that was there, congratulations to you for being in that room. But it just underlined to me, I'm like, yeah, they're tired. Of course they're tired. They've done, X number of shows in the last 3 weeks. This is all new to them. Of course they're tired. Are you kidding? I mean, this would be one of those things. I mean, a lot of other bands would be at each other's throats by this time. I don't think it was like that, but I think that they were just working some things out, as sisters. As far as talking to each other on stage, they do that all the time without words. Sometimes they do use words, but a lot of times it's just looks and telepathy. Maybe being in that situation before and kind of knowing what that look means or what this means here. And, you build a little nonverbal vocabulary. They're very, very good at that. So just had to get all those in. All right, let's keep going.
I never even thought about, maybe I should figure out what's going on that made me forget anything in my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
To like harken back to what you just said, I think the Rolling Stones said it pretty good with their, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. And the idea of having empathy for yourself in the situation, and it's because it is just that. It's only rock and roll. This is entertainment. That's what you're doing. Your job is to have fun, so that.
Just that he mentioned that, I just want to put this into what they were talking about. You got to have fun. Like Pau said that. I feel like this band has fun all the time, even under the most trying circumstances. I know that they tend to go out there and they're smiling, especially Pau. She's really good at that. Even if she's feeling sick or something, because I think she's in that mindset like, gee, I get to play this gig. Granted, I've been playing a lot lately, but this is still an opportunity to be with my sisters and my fans in front of me. This is a wonderful thing. And so that smile, I think, is real. You might see it a lot and think, gee, I wonder if this is just part of the act. I don't think it is. I think they're actually genuinely having a great time when they do that.
Yeah.
The folks that have purchased the ticket to come blow off the steam to their favorite band and their favorite music are encouraged to have fun as well. I don't know who your first tour was in the States, you said? Was that with Hailstorm?
Yep.
Actually, it was our own headlining tour.
Yeah, we had our first
headlining tour. Right. It was a headliner tour. That's right.
And it was our first ever tour experience. So, it was just like a punch in the face of, this is everything.
And, things that you wouldn't think about, our team, all the settlements, handling, closing every show, the merch, everything that you just, we had never thought about. We
all grew, as a team, we all grew a lot from that experience, because we didn't know, we actually didn't know anything about touring.
And talking about the Hailstorm thing.
Even to pack, we didn't know, how to pack.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of. At one point, I asked Lee Sklar, how do you pack for a tour? Especially, say, a long European tour or something. He said, 1 suitcase. That's the ticket. 1. Now, he's a bass player. He's a guy. He can wear T-shirts or whatever. He probably doesn't need as much luggage. But the idea is there. You keep it simple. You take the very basics that you really need, and that's it. But, yeah, that's a big deal. You got to figure that out, too. So this is kind of fascinating. I guess for a while it hadn't really occurred to me. This is right after the pandemic. They played that amazing Saltillo show and some other shows in Mexico first. And then suddenly there they are in America going around, yes, headlining all the way and doing radio spots and things like that. And it was actually the summer tour a little bit later where they had Hailstorm and Pretty Reckless and sometimes Lilith Czar. But this is great information. I haven't heard them talk about this. Or this tour in this particular circumstance, this kind of thing where they're giving this information. So this is cool.
Never know how to pack.
No, you'll never know.
always overpacked. We toured with Hailstorm.
Yeah.
Which was our next tour.
It was our second tour ever.
Summer tour.
So we get to that, I'm going to call it a camp, because everything was just so...
It was so organized.
It was
insane.
And we were so green in touring
in general.
So we were I feel like we all learned so much. And they were so welcoming. They were very willing to like, hey, you know what? This is not how you do things. This is how you do things. And it was just such a comfortable place
To grow.
like get used to touring, because it was also a very long tour. It was also a 6-week tour. It was a summer tour, and they're incredible people, and we became really good friends, not only with them but like with
The
Lilith
crew.
Czar and all the crew, and it was just a lovely touring experience. And also we grew so much like logistic wise thanks to that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's where the
You know what occurs to me? It might have been nice. Now, granted, perfect world situation. If they had had the summer tour first, not in summer. Let's say that the summer tour happened in the spring when they were doing their other tour. If they were flipped, that's what I'm saying. If they'd had that experience first with Hailstorm, giving him tips and everything, and then went out and did the 6-week headliner tour for the first time.
the ShipRocked ties again. They've been on the cruise twice, and we're I would consider to be pals with them, and they're just awesome. Everybody in the whole camp. So what a great, and they're gracious enough to like hold out a hand and say, hey, let's help you with this. It's invaluable. It's like, because think of the alternative, right? It could have been awful. And now you're going home. You're like, I don't want to do this. If this is what it is, I don't want to do this. Right. So you're super fortunate. That's so great that happened for y'all.
Seriously, like you've had a string of incredible home runs all the way, and it's well deserved, because you guys are incredible, not only as musicians but humans. And just in the short period of time that I've been talking to you, I'm like, oh yeah. This is exactly what it needs, what you guys need. I was like, I wonder what they're going to be like, So kudos, whoever your parents are, too. Kudos.
Telling you.
Unit.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Moni.
Yeah. I want to, if you don't mind, I want to change gears because Chad brought up the Rolling Stones. Thanks a lot, Chad.
The Rolling Stones.
You made me think about things. That's not why I'm here. Okay. Girls just want to have fun. Thank you. So when I listen to your recordings, it really sounds. I think the reason it sounds fresh is because it sounds live. It sounds real. Is that something that because there's a lot of music these days that's very processed, and it all sounds. A lot of the modern music, especially rock music, sounds really great. Sonically, it fills the whole spectrum, and it sounds amazing. Like you can tell that they spent a lot of time on drums these days. Oh my God. But when I listen to your music, it feels more raw, and that's an observation, not anything other than an observation of what I'm hearing. And it sounds like that might be on purpose. The vocals sound a lot like there's a lot of one takes, and there's obviously some comping that happens with vocals because there has to be, but it really sounds like there's some elements to it where it sounds to me like it's just you in the studio singing. Like it's really happening, and there's a producer there and someone kind of giving you direct. That happens, but there's something about it that just feels really upfront in the mix and very. It's like the vocals right on top of you, and there's nothing else kind of in the way. Everything that's there is building the foundation for the vocal that you can hear and the lyric that you're trying to convey. How much thought do you guys put into the sonics of the sonic experience of The Warning?
Okay, so everything is like really
so on point.
So something that we've not only heard throughout our whole lives, but we live it and we experience it, is that our live shows, like the way we play live, usually sounds better than what we record. So what the attitude that we bring to recording is like, we want to sound how we sound live. Like we want to capture that essence, that sound, that energy, and just put it in an album. That's usually
Absolutely.
The mindset.
Goal. Yes.
Yeah. So that's how we record, with that in mind. We just kind of like rock out there. And in terms of the vocals, yes, I really focus also on that for it to sound very human. Like the chorus, maybe do it the second time around, do it again, but with a little bit more intensity as the song like grows. Just kind of like, even though it's the same parts, we really like to focus on that. And in mixing wise as well, we're very into like, okay,
We're nitpicky.
we're so nitpicky.
Our mixers don't like us always, but but friends that they accept the process, which is good. But like, it's always like with that in mind, like just it's stuff that we're playing that we like, stuff that we would play that we are actually playing, and things that we want to talk about. So it should feel natural. It should feel.
And I feel like that is a very key word. We want them to feel the meaning of the song. Like when you get in that chorus, I wanted to hit you in the face and just kind of like poof, feel it physically.
Right.
So,
well, and the other,
I feel like they do that with their songs anyway. You know, whether the recording process or the writing process, you can tell when you're at the chorus of any of their songs, and you are generally encouraged to participate. And I am assuming that he has listened to Error more than anything, and that's what he's talking about in terms of the upfront vocals and everything. They're still playing a lot of Queen of the Murder Scene songs at this point in time. And I think it was a little bit different with that one. Like the vocals were there, but I think that they got to be more upfront and more, possibly more like vivid in a way on Error, because they had David Bendeth right there, an amazing producer with many, many years of experience. Not that there was anything wrong with Jake Carmona or the process they used for Queen of the Murder Scene, but he was right there in the studio, like right. I mean, Danny was singing in the control room, it looked like, for a lot of the songs. So it makes sense. You know, he was there to give feedback as needed. But fascinating, they don't talk about these things very much, so I'm really glad to hear the questions and the answers coming in this interview.
other observation I have is that it's not, again, not a slam on anything else, but the music that I heard didn't seem like it was overproduced. It didn't seem like there was a lot of additional bells and whistles. And I think that, and again, that's just an observation. And to me, that lends itself really well to the live show, right? Because if someone sees a music video or listens streams your music, and then they go to see you, it's like, it's like you just get to do what you do without all the other stuff that was never there to begin with. And frankly, it's only rock and roll, right? So it's like, how much shaker do we need in here? Like, do we need the synth thing? Do we need the keyboard part?
Need more cowbell.
Really that's cool. And then for you guys, it probably helps out too with like the road and with expenses of people and other musicians, or a bunch of more computers and more tracks. And I mean, everybody's probably got a track or two in their arsenal. It's just kind of part of the deal. But I mean, there's a lot of 3-piece bands out there that have done really, really well. And you listen to those bands, and there can be a lot going on with 3 people. I mean, there's a lot you can do with 3 people. Hell, there's I mean, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if they're like on the road, but those was 3.
Yeah, and we really do have that mindset. We let the song flow in the direction that it needs, and if we feel like it needs the extra element, we will go that way. But if it doesn't, we're like, let's just leave it to like what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so taking it back to you talked about your vocal recording process or your preferred experience, right? When you get to that second chorus, and do you have like a song in all of the songs that you've put out so far that you felt was the hardest for you, not just to perform when you're recording it, but to say out loud, to sing it out loud, to put even if they are your family members, even if you're in the studio or people that you trust, it still can be sometimes a cathartic experience, and sometimes a really rivetingly rip me open experience.
Martyrio?
I don't know any of those.
Yes, I did actually. A fun fact about my recording vocals is that I like to record in the dark. I like to move around a lot and just feel
Candles.
like in a cocoon of that I am safe in, to like fully let out all the expressions. And then there's this one song in our latest album called Amour, was, I have no idea what happened. I just literally started crying so hard. I was trying to connect really to the song, and it's a hard song because it goes from really soft vocals and a low range in my person to a really high range and a lot of just like letting out stuff. And there's a part in the middle that's in French.
Yep,
so
French.
It was such a frustrating experience in general that I was just like, all the things that the song represents, because it's a song about I'd rather be in a horrible relationship than to be alone, or in a horrible like place situation than to take away the the company of other people and leaving myself healthier but alone.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like wanted to feel all that so I could express it, and it ended up with a full-on mental breakdown.
Sobbing
I remember
Danny.
David Bendeth was the producer for that album.
Okay.
It just like sprinted out of the room and he went to hug you, and I know that it wasn't like the cutest moment, like to be feeling all of that, but like from when I saw it, it was like
it looked
David
cute.
Bendeth being like a grandpa and just hugging you and calming you.
Oh man.
It was so
That's really
embarrassing
sweet.
because all
I can
his
imagine
shirt was completely soaked
in
in my
tears.
tears. Sorry.
I remember that.
It sounds to me, I don't know
Yes,
that.
no.
I don't know him personally, but it sounds like that's right up his alley, though, right? Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
wild. That's a pretty wild experience. I can imagine that, resetting, in that space.
Wasn't
I don't
that the
know if you called it a
Ratatouille
day.
song?
I would assume that maybe there was a moment where like, let's take a little bit of time.
I don't think we called it a day, but
took a break,
I did took a break, but I went to guitars.
Yeah.
We recorded drums and then bass, and vocals and guitars are my right up my
you were
alley.
recording for
So
like a month straight. That was pretty.
That was insane.
So
stressful,
I
yeah.
just like, hey, let's go back to recording guitars and continue vocals
I
tomorrow.
forgot about that. That was a horrible.
Good
so
call.
does someone, do y'all speak French too?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So we learned French,
Oh,
like
I think-
our childhoods, like our school was trilingual. It was Spanish, English, and French. But
Makes sense.
we it's like when you, I don't want to be mean, but usually when we ask Americans if they can speak Spanish, they're like, oh, we learned it in high school, and they can say like la biblioteca
We
Yes.
can't say
stuff
that.
like that.
We can't say
It's
that.
how we learn
El
French. I
periódico.
can kind of read it.
Okay.
We can-
Because
libro.
I'm thinking at that moment, like when you had your breakdown and you went to the guitars, right then your sisters wish they knew a third language so that they could talk about you in that language.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
that was-
The two of them just have that conversation, roll their eyes, and be like, whatever it is, like, oh, here we go, a drama
Guten
queen.
Tag or
Oh,
something.
and by the way, we've been recording the guitars for a month and a half. Okay, we get it. You're playing the guitar. We get it. Like,
There you go. Yep.
but only
Guten Tag. Yeah. Some people can do an amazing job with learning different languages and doing them simultaneously. I think most of us can't really do that. If you're doing two, that's really, really good. It's pretty standard, actually, in most places. But it takes a lot out of you, especially if you want to be fluent in both. And so adding a third one is always a heck of an accomplishment. And I tip my hat to anybody that can do that, or move on to 4 languages, 5 languages, But yeah, I would not expect them to be fluent in more languages than 2. I mean, not because they couldn't. I'm sure they could, but it's just like. And if you're going to do that, I strongly recommend try to stagger it a little bit, so you just don't go completely crazy and start mixing up infinitives in the wrong language, etc.
in another language. That would be so amazing.
And even though we don't know another language, though, it's impressive still our like telepathic thingy. I feel like we can understand each other very well, which is kind of like
we could
yeah.
each other without.
Yeah,
Without
because then
saying-
when we
There's
work
your
with
third
people
language.
for such a long time, they start like understanding contextual Spanish,
Mhm,
and that's where
yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
It's like no,
and then we need to start talking like really fast and like,
Yeah.
so we can, like not get it.
Yeah.
We're something.
It's a
So,
good tool.
Slower,
So-
please.
Even
but
a
be-
little pig Latin. Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that
So-
what we got?
but so being bilingual, and Chad, you can probably empathize with this or sympathize with me. Being bilingual, see, for us, when we hear people speak Spanish fluently with one another, it's so fast, so fast. Is it the same with English when you hear Well, no, but you wouldn't know because you speak English too. But
I'm going to say no.
It depends on the accent, but no, like when we go to the U.S., people speak like
Really,
it's not that fast.
Deep
But
south.
you know,
Hey,
Spanish is-
yeah, you go down south, it goes real slow now.
Yes.
I will say this though. Being Mexican, I feel like we are very used to having people speak really loud and move their mouth a lot. Like over there, I feel like it's like you don't necessarily like you just need this.
We
and it's
can't
just,
read
like,
lips sometimes,
it's
and
just
that's
like-
pretty horrible.
I feel
Yeah.
like some that's where I don't understand. Not
like,
because
abre
of
la
the
boca.
rules, but I feel like I'm used to a visual language as
yeah,
well.
that's true.
It's really trippy. It's like when we went to Europe, like in the UK, understanding English over there. I was like, you know what? I don't speak English here. I don't understand a single word.
Yeah, we feel the same way here in the States.
I'm like, what are you mad?
Yeah.
When I went to Norway as a fresh high school graduate, age 18, and I was going to try to break into the music business, I had a great friend there. I was going to stay with him and his family, actually, and we were going to try to break into music. All of the people in Norway do indeed speak at least some English. They learn British English. They learn English from the UK. And so I found that in order to be understood, I had to adopt something of a British accent. And it worked. It actually worked beautifully. And I came back to Boston after that, and for the rest of my life, people are going, "You don't sound like you came from Boston." And I attribute it to that. But yeah, I fully understand what they're saying. It's like a totally different language.
We feel the same way. It's like I turn on the subtitles on some TV shows sometimes.
Yeah,
it's like Peaky Blinders, Chad, exactly. Like the subtitles are on. I look like a doofus, but I got the subtitles on. Yeah. It's supposed to be English. So I'm gonna go random here and change the subject again. One of my favorite bands is Haim. And certainly there's I don't know, what am I talking about? Yeah. I feel like y'all are like the rock and roll version. I mean, they have some rock and roll elements to what they do, but I feel like y'all are like right there on the cusp of being the rock and roll Haim for sure.
I love that.
Yes.
Like they're
and
great.
I mean, and it's an easy. I'm not breaking any new ground here because it's an easy comparison to make. It's like there's the three sisters, right? That.
Yep.
Right?
Yuppers.
But it's super cool. I'm excited for the future, what the future holds for y'all, and I think it's nothing but positive things coming your way. I think that comes from. I'll soapbox, and I think it just comes from the natural. It just seems natural. It just seems like this is what you would be doing. This is what you'd be doing, and it's like it started that way, and nobody was forced into anything. It's like this thing that we do, and that's what they have, right? I think they're very musical family and that kind of thing. But I do want to ask, what was like, because you guys have like a pretty kick-ass. Do you guys have the same rehearsal place? Is like it's everybody knows about that everybody's seen online.
Cave.
Okay, so it's the same setup. I mean, what? God, that is like being home, right? Like you're home with the food, but then you're also like, hey, this is where we kind of sound our best right here. Like everything's dialed in just how you like it, right?
Definitely.
Our rehearsal, like it's literally right here.
It's literally, yeah.
It has evolved throughout the years. Like when we moved to our current house, like this one, we were pretty young. I remember we didn't have this room, and I would have to play the drums in the middle of the living room. And it was so loud. It was terrible. It was so bad for everyone.
So the parents are like, okay, we're building a room. Right? Right? Is that what happened? Can somebody confirm? I mean, come on. It sounds like it.
So the rehearsal room used to be like the playroom, like the TV room. And it stopped being the TV room, and it became the rehearsal room. It's
the rock and roll room.
Like the drum set and your guitars and like a little amp. So over the years, it started getting like a bit more serious, and I was like, oh, okay. And the rehearsal room is evolving. We are also evolving.
Yeah.
And now
we've grown with that room.
Oh,
you betcha.
that's cute. I don't want to think about that again.
All the emotions.
He just pops in the screen. He's like, it's gonna be fine.
Oh yeah, here comes David. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll pick up this interview tomorrow. Okay, so I hate to say this. I think this might be a good time to stop and pick it up again later. Believe it or not, there's still over 20 minutes left on this hour-long interview, and it looks like they're there the whole time. So yes, I am going to pause at this point and pick it up again. I'm going to pick it up a little faster. I apologize. It took me 3 more days to get back to this. I'm really trying to go not more than 2 days between videos. Sometimes it's just not possible to do that. I mean, as many of you know, I've been traveling, and so Monday was a huge travel day. Made it difficult to get anything else done, but I'm home now. We'll see if I can maybe do this tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. You know, I'd like to try to finish this up for you guys. Really fascinating interview. It's actually more fascinating than I anticipated. They're getting asked a lot of things that I have not heard them get asked before, and we're hearing their answers. See, that's the key. That's why asking good questions is so important if you're an interviewer. So, all right, we will pick this up soon. But why don't you give me your thoughts on this so far? Just how it's striking you, if you've learned anything in particular, if there's anything you want to add, any other context. If you were at any of those shows in 2022, I know a lot of you were. Would love to hear if you spotted anything that showed you that maybe they were going through it a little bit, learning to be a touring band really for the first time in that spring of 2022 tour. Even if you saw them during the summer tour, I'd be interested, even though those are shorter sets, not quite as much pressure, still a long tour though. Would love to hear about it. So leave those thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you enjoyed the presentation, please subscribe. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. I will catch you on the next one. Take care, folks.